if something is good and you want somebody else to have it, then selling just makes sense. Is this how you sell, or am I just being unethical? Those that actually make the most are the ones that sell it right. There's this unspoken like accountability. Take the risk, fall forward, fail forward. There's a saying that I say a lot at home: "Sai getao ilo."
Welcome to We Are Nesian. We are Pacific Islanders, Polynesian, Melanesian, Micronesian, and this is where we promote stories. Today I'm going to talk with someone who's done super cool things, who is Pacific Islander, and the goal is to get their story out there. The goal is to bring our people together in this way that's so crucial to us, because as Pacific Islanders, as Nesians, we are storytellers. And my hope with this is to promote another cool story. So stay tuned for the full episode. We got Alma Fonua on the show, and he's a really cool Tongan dude that I connected with a while back. We're just going to dive into his story, get to know him, and really how he got to where he's at. Because right now he's working on a startup with his brother and doing cool things there. So Alma Fonua, great to have you on, man.
Yeah, good to be here. How are you?
Yes, I'm chilling. Really, it's cool getting to talk to people like you and getting to know your guys' story. So give me a little background for the people who are listening. Who are you? Where'd you grow up? Like, how'd you end up in where you're at today? The quick rundown.
Yeah, born and raised here in Utah. Um, Went to school, BOU Hawaii, came back, went into different sales positions, management positions, worked my way up a couple companies, and then um, transitioned a little bit over to recruiting, since that's sort of like sales. And my brother came to me and wanted to start our own thing, and so yeah, that's what we're trying to do right now, is trying to make this work.
Yeah. No, what was that like having that conversation with your brother and even like growing up with him this entire time and then all of a sudden you guys come together and do this whole startup thing?
My whole family has been in sales, and so and multiple siblings have started different startups, and so it wasn't like something super new, but it is always fun to start something with somebody that you're always close with, like your brother. And when he came to me and asked me about it, um, asked me what if I he at first he was doing some recruiting. And he's like, you would be really good at this. This is the salesman in him talking. Hey, like, you would be really good at this, like recruiting. And at the time, I was actually looking to kind of transition out of the sales job that I was doing, and so I thought I'd just give it a try. And then he's like, you can do these different jobs, or um, you know, if you want to start your own thing, you can do that. And then that's what we decided to do. So it wasn't like
Got
a
it.
super big, drastic decision. Like, I mean, it was a big decision. That changed a lot in our lives, but it wasn't a hard decision to make, because
Yeah.
I knew that working with him would work out in the end.
That makes a ton of sense. I there's two questions floating in the back of my mind. The first one is, how did you guys as this Tongan family get into sales? How did all you guys like start doing all these entrepreneurial things in the first place?
So sales positions in general, just so you're aware, like, it's like the most in demand position, because it's a job that nobody really likes to do. They get a bad rap for whatever it is that you're selling. And so I mean, Polynesians, we're grinding no matter what we're doing. And grew up in Magna. We're always, nobody's rich over there. We're just trying to make it work. And so you definitely want to, work hard at whatever it is you're doing. But I've had sales jobs ever since I left high school, like telemarketing, phone jobs, and use that to, I was selling Sprint PCS phones over the phone at this company called ComCom, that later turned into Teleperformance USA. But anyways, went on a mission that was partly sales, and came back and worked at Costco at major sales, selling the expensive jewelry and the electronics and things, appliances. and then ended up doing like door to door sales until I went to BYU Hawaii, and there it kind of transitioned from sales more to management. I was, like an obviously started. You got to start first 4 months at the PCC. Gotta get some dancing in,
Yeah,
but then
it's a rite of passage.
and then I was a RA, resident advisor,
Yeah.
and then uh, ended up becoming the student body president at BYU Hawaii for my final senior year, and then from there, graduating, I looked into different positions, and one of the positions was like a car rental company, Enterprise Rent a Car, but they actually had a really good, solid training program, and so they did that for 5 years, become branch manager. It did healthcare, sales and recruiting. So I like my own broker, where I was like your own broker is kind of like the entrepreneurial mindset. And so while I was doing this, um, I was helping my other brothers start, other businesses like clothing wear, iffy. Also is it was a CBD company, and then my sister, she were gonna start like a kava company.
Oh,
And then yeah, I was just doing different, just trying out different things. And but when I started this with my brother, this is one that kind of took off pretty quick, and it was more aligned with my background in things that I was used to doing, making sure everything's organized, and um talking to people over the phone, doing interviews. So yeah.
what do you think it is? Because you mentioned this as you were talking about sales and being Polynesian. What do you think it is about Polynesians that you think give you that maybe that edge in sales or maybe some other facet of career stuff?
I think Polynesians in general are, hungry to get to work, just because that's how we kind of grew up. Like I don't really know like a ton of Polynesians that were like grew up with a silver spoon in their mouth. Our ancestors worked hard in the islands, and I was fortunate enough to see a lot of that when I served my mission there in Tonga. And so just trying to carry on that same mentality and work ethic in whatever it is that we're doing. But I think because we're also the friendly island, or fun people, it's easy to talk to, and like talking to people. A lot of times I feel like I'm more of the introverted Tongan than the extroverted like everybody else. But um I guess when things make sense and you want somebody to, have the best, or, like if something is good and you want somebody else to have it, then selling just makes sense.
Yeah, it's like more of just helping them out, helping them find the solution
Yeah,
to
for
what their
sure.
problem is.
Yeah, there was one of my mentors, Richie Norton. He said like, "What's the first word you think of when you think of marketing?" And then, there was different words that came up, but he's like, if the first word isn't service, then you're doing it wrong. It's all about like finding what's best for whoever you're trying to market towards. Serve, and, actually sell with love instead of trying to like bend dangle, scam some person or whatever. Yeah, so
Have you ever, was there a point in your life where you were iffy on what you were selling and because of that you ended up being like one of those the reason why salesmen I think get a bad rep because they're like, oh, I'm just trying to get the commission or whatever. Was there a point in your life where it was like that?
yeah. So there's multiple times in different sales, in different positions. All sales persons go through this, like, you know wait, is this ethical, or am I just learning how to sell? Like, is this how you sell, or am I just being unethical? Like, there's this like learning curve that you have to like understand. And what I found is like there are some people that are unethical in sales that could make a lot of money, but those that actually make the most are the ones that sell it right, like do it the right way. Um, and I've done like door to door sales, in store sales, over the phone sales. Um, and now it's more like recruiting. Recruiting is a lot more straightforward. Like, um, there's not a lot of um, you're helping people because right now what I'm doing is I'm recruiting for a lot of different sales positions actually,
Oh,
uh, like account executives, and a lot of them when they get on with me, they're just trying to. You can tell that they're trying to sell me when I'm just like, no, it's like, okay, let's just answer the question, just stick to the question. This is what I want to know, and so I'll repeat questions, and then I'll repeat that the answer. They'll go off in like some tangent, and I'll say, okay, so this is your answer. They're like, yes, and then I can have a follow up to that. It's very more. It's a lot more black and white. Um, the well, there's obviously different parts of the recruiting process, but as far as like the screening process, the first part it's a lot more black and white, and then when I'm interviewing for later down the stage, like if I'm like the second or third interview, then I can dig in more, where you still man, there's sometimes where people say like fake it till you make it.
bro, I hear that all the
sometimes
time out here.
sometimes you can do that, but sometimes, man, that'll just bite you in the butt. Like sometimes it for sure doesn't work on certain interviews that I do. Um, like I would almost rather them just say, "Yeah, I'm not sure on that," or and then I can move on, or ask them like, "Oh, no problem. Try to rephrase it like this," or explain it this way, and then instead of somebody trying to like pull something out of their butt, trying to give me some garbage answers.
Yeah, no-
Anyways,
Well, for you, because you take all this background, all this experience in sales, and then your brother comes to you about this idea. What are your thoughts on like how some people might say don't go into business with your family?
yeah, I don't know everybody's family situation, so that could be like good advice. It could be bad advice. I guess it depends on the family, but I would say maybe don't worry too much about the family connection, but more worry about like your relationship with that person. Like if you have a bad relationship with one of your family members, yeah, probably don't go in business with your family. But because I had like already a good relationship, I already have good relationships with my siblings, then there's more of a fire that you want to see them succeed, and there's more accountability on each other. Like you don't want to fail this person. You want to make sure that they're doing well. I want to make sure his family's eating, and same with him, with and vice versa with him. He wants to make sure we're successful, and so there's this like especially if you're both business owner, like there's this unspoken like accountability that just is there. uh and so and also I think it also depends on what stage of life you're both in. Like we both have kids, and we're married, and so it's not like, oh, I'm just gonna take it easy and have him do the majority of the work or whatever. It's like we're both trying to leave something for our leave something behind that that our kids can benefit from. It's been a good experience though with him, uh working with him, and there have been times where we've gotten into it, but I mean at the
Oh,
end
that's what
of
I
the
was gonna ask.
day.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, was there a time, because I think in the startup phase, there's always a time of like, oh yeah, we're gonna go and do this thing and a bunch of motivation. And then there's like this dip or valley of despair where you're really going through it and it's like a super tough time. Did you go through that? And if you did, how did you and your brother get out of it?
Yeah, there were things that I mean, because there was a learning curve. This was our first time. Like, even though we've both had different startups separately, this was our first time doing a startup together. And so there was the learning curve of trying to work together and the roles that we would both play, and how that would play towards our strengths, and how would we complement each other in what we're actually doing and trying to accomplish, making sure like our goals are aligned. But I think one of our arguments was just like over some dumb small things, like how we communicated. And I think it was through Slack, like just going back and forth at each other. But then like after it all, like, we just calmed down and we're like, hey, this is actually what we need to focus on. Let's just keep business and whatever. And so it's never lasted. We were never upset at each other. I wouldn't say more than like an hour or two. But there have been times, like where we're on a call like this and we're going back and forth, but the way we're talking to each other, it might sound like an argument to somebody that not aware of our relationship, but it's just part of like the brainstorming, the figuring things out, the what's the best way to do this, and so it's never been like any heated arguments, I would say.
Hope you're enjoying this episode. If you're a Pacific Islander listening to this and you either want to start a business or you have a business, check out our website at wearenesian.com/join. What we're trying to do is help you grow your business. And by doing that, bring you together with all the other Pacific Islander businesses that are out there. So first of all, you get this community of everyone who's fighting the good fight. And then on top of that, we're here to help you and make a website for you and help you with marketing and the tech side of everything that goes on in the business world. If that sounds like something that you're down for, then pull up. Would love to have you a part of this community. And stay tuned for the rest of the episode. For the Polynesian or the Pacific Islander that's listening to this and they have in the back of their mind, man, I want to one day go own my business or start my own business. Well, what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, like you can take risk, but like depends on like your own situation. I know people that have started businesses, but they prefer to like go work at a company. They prefer the 9 to 5 because they started a business and they're like, oh yeah, this like trying to manage everybody, that's just not for me. Like, so look at what you actually like doing, and if starting a business is what you like doing, because it might be like a situation where like, oh, this is a good idea, but I think somebody else would be better doing it. And so maybe I should just team up with other people, so that I can just focus on what you're good at. Um, the other thing I would take into consideration is just if you are married, just make sure like your spouse is on board, because they're like the biggest. They can be like the biggest supporter or the biggest like distractor, or like I don't know what you call it, just to pull you
Yeah.
down or whatever. And so we were both fortunate that, from the get go, like our spouses were both supportive of us. Um, and this was like 1 year, I think, into my marriage. And so he's been married for a while, but like 1 year into my marriage, and my wife was like, okay, if that's what you want to do, you can do it. And so we were fortunate enough, like it's worked out and took off fast, and helped out a lot with what we're trying to build, and so our spouses weren't too angry with us, starting something new. But yeah, I would say focus on those things. The other thing is just don't really be afraid to take the risk, especially if you're young. And take the risk, fall forward, fail forward. That's what we always tell each other. Like
I
when we
love
get
that, yeah.
stuck, when me and my brother get stuck on something, like, well, this might not work, so we're just gonna do it and then fail forward. Like,
Yeah, was there a time that you can remember where you're like, yes, I'm just gonna fail forward?
with us, yeah,
Yeah,
multiple
yeah.
times. Sometimes it was with making sure that we're hiring like the right person because we were in a crunch and we're like, well, this will at least cover this. So let's just at least, if it doesn't work out, we're failing forward, keep moving forward. And there's a saying that I say a lot at home that my wife knows. So my wife's not Tongan; she's half Japanese, half white, but she knows what the saying means because I say it a lot. I've said it a lot through our marriage. It's "sai getao ilo," and basically it means like, "Oh, good, so you
Good
know,
to
good, so we know." And whenever me and my wife we like whatever it is. We go somewhere to eat. We don't like that place, but it was a new place that was promoted, and we're like, okay,
ah.
psych it out, Elo. We're never coming back there again, but it's good that we
I've
went,
never
so we
heard it in
know.
that way before.
And so it's always been like with my brother. It's like fail forward. It's like, oh, well,
Psychedelic.
we messed up. We made a big mistake here, but good learning experience. Psych it out, Elo. And then just
Oh,
move
Brian,
forward.
I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna use that from because I never the only phrase I've heard that is when I'm like, oh, this happened today, and my siblings like, oh, psychedelic. I've only heard it like
Yeah,
that. But that's a better way of using that phrase. I love that a lot actually.
yeah. So I've heard it a lot. Kind of, I think, growing up from my parents, like when they tell you not to do something, but you do it. Oh, psych, get elo, eh? Oh, good. So now you know, don't do that or don't touch this or whatever. But
The
anyways,
other thing I have in my mind that I've been not I guess you might say wrestling with is like the difference in this islander culture that I found versus like the business world. And what I mean by this is something like when we go back to the islands or when we're around our family, everything is like very slow paced, very islander vibes. Like everyone just go with the flow. Whereas out here for school, everyone's like, okay, we got to lock down my next internship, got to figure out what I'm studying, got to get all my classes done. And it seems like such polarizing ways of living in culture. And I think I see it in business too, where everyone's like, how am I going to make the next dollar? Who's my next customer going to be? For you, how do you find that balance between both lifestyles as Tongan as a Polynesian?
yeah. Well, first off, like I grew up here in the states, and so although I've been to Tonga for a couple years and lived in Hawaii for a couple years. Um, like I grew up here, and so very much very Americanized, culture. But I think it's not so much like the culture. It's more of like what we do. Like like I said, like going to the uta, going to the bush, and just working hard, every day. That's like hard work, So when you picture like oh, there's like this island vibe, everything's, slow. It's not like you're just living, carefree, in the world. You still have to like work hard and make sure your family's fed and no matter what it is you're doing in the islands. But here, I mean, it's not really something that I've had to manage like hasn't been like a big issue. It's more of like where I was at different stages of my life, like right after out of college or even before college. Like those were I feel like the carefree stages in my life. But then like the older you get, like when you feel like more responsibilities are piling on, there's more of a grind there. Actually, especially right after college, where you're in this stage like trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, but then a lot of different opportunities pop up. Like you definitely, I would recommend like man, try to take as many chances or opportunities as you possibly can. You only need one to hit, but
That's what we tell ourselves.
that's what they. Never mind. I was gonna say that's probably what some people say when they go to Reno when they try to over to Wendover. Oh, I just need
Bro,
one to hit.
Oh man, I'm from Vegas, so that's all I hear is like, oh, I just need one more, one more.
Nah, but if anything, like it's at least a good experience. Like starting something new,
Psychedelic.
like even if it's you start it, I would also recommend like people read books to know what it's like. It's not like everything just comes easy. Oh, you own your own business? Oh man, it must be so nice. You know, there's like
Bro,
a lot of books. Like
dude.
even just like there was like a simple small book that I had in college that like actually explained it pretty well. It was like E Myth Revisited. I don't know if
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
heard the E
I
Myth.
have, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That was like one book that was like I read it in college, but then like when I read it again, but as an entrepreneur, I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. It's like this
Bro,
roller coaster that you're going on, and not always like rainbows and butterflies doing
that's what I'm
this,
saying.
but
Like, because I feel like on TikTok or on Instagram, people will like be posting on there, oh, here's my Bugatti that I got today, because like entrepreneurship or whatever. And then they find out it's like rented or something. It's like so, it's so fantasized in the world, but like in the thick of it, in the weeds, right? It's a hard lifestyle. Like, it's easy, it's easier to see from the inside why people want to go back to the 9 to 5 for sure. In my opinion, I think it's like, because we're trying to do something new that really hasn't been done before, or if nothing else hasn't been done in the way that we're trying to do it. Like, for example, my uncle, he like came over from Tonga or whatever, and then he wanted to start a yacht company, like as most people do. But in his mind, it's like, it's not necessarily like, oh, this brand new big thing that I want to do. It's just him basically trying to, like you said, he's hungry, trying to feed his family. But in doing so, he's putting this thing into the world that never existed. Like, his yacht company didn't exist before he went out there and tried to put it into the world. So that's one thing I think, like, as Polynesians, as Tongans, like, we're just driven to do is like be hungry and go and do those cool things. So for you, what does it mean to be Polynesian?
I think it means a lot more now than what it's meant in the past, just because growing up, I took a lot of it for granted. You know, my little group of friends were Polynesians, and a lot of my close cousins, I grew up with. I was fortunate enough to have a ton of cousins that I grew up with, and
Bro, that's how it is, yeah.
we just loved, what we did together and hanging out together. And um, now that you get older, you learn more about your history and all the giants. Like that's what, like my my nephew uh graduated. I made a graduation stole for him. It said standing on the shoulders of giants, and I had a picture of my dad and his other
Wow.
grandpa, both passed away. Just because like that's like who we all are right now. We're just standing on the shoulders of giants, of like everybody that's came before us. But like being from another country is like adds a whole nother layer to it. It's like a lot of my aunts and uncles, when I asked them like, man, what was the hardest part for you growing up? They're like learning English and seeing my own parents, like my mom, fulfill a lot of like her callings in the church, like in broken English growing up. Right now, like her English has gotten a lot better, but just striving to like work hard, and we're God fearing people trying to take care of our family. It's just like almost embedded in our culture.
The
Anyways,
question that I always end off with is, if you could put up a sign, and this sign goes up on every Pacific Islander home, and so every millions and millions of them would see this sign every single day, what would you put on that sign and why?
what would I put up on the sign? Yeah, man, I'm not sure. There's like so many things coming up in my head. Like,
Yeah, think of them out loud. You got it.
oh, I don't know. Like, just like we're proud to be here. We're like, it's like it's almost like I don't know, some sort of welcome sign. Like you're always welcome in our home, or something around like, yeah, just loving others. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah, good. I think there were some powerful things that you said throughout the entire episode. Like, things around. I mean, I'm definitely gonna take psych at that wheel. I'm repeating that to myself like forever now because like fail forward is one of my biggest things. But also this idea of standing on the shoulder of giants, like the stole. I think that's such a cool idea, and having those two people who passed away, but in their life and paved the way forward for us to be here where we are today in America and trying to do these cool things. And it's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
man, thank you, Alma, for everything, for hearing your story and getting to know a bit more about you. So if someone they heard this and they want to get in contact, how could they do that?
You can add me on LinkedIn,
There
add
you
me on
go.
Facebook. Yeah. Always happy to help wherever I can.
Right on, right on. Okay, it was great talking with you, bro. I'll catch you later.
All right. See ya.
Hope you enjoyed that conversation. If you did, drop a follow, drop a like, drop a subscribe, or wherever you're watching this. But really, if you're a Pacific Islander business owner or you want to start a business, then this is the place to be. Come join our community where we talk all things business, all things Islander, all things food, all things family, because that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is spend more time with our families. Come over to wearenesian.com/join and hope to see you there. Stay tuned for the next episode.